Well, this is Tyneham.
A lost Dorset village.
It's a really sad place, actually. In November of 1943, the government just basically told all the villagers to leave.
They did, and they had just 28 days to pack up everything that they owned and move out.
Yep.
So December the 17th, the last resident left.
Yeah, just a week before Christmas. This was handed over to the Ministry of Defence for the war efforts and for training.
Churchill promised he would hand it back to the villagers.
He did, but that never happened.
Sadly, it never happened.
Yeah, in 1948, the Cold War was ramping up, and the Ministry of Defence decided to keep the site, use it for training, and the villagers never returned.
So we will have a little explore. What was called the Row, and it was a row of 4 terraced houses, and this is number 4,
the Shepherd's
Cottage. So it was occupied for many years by shepherds.
The Upshaw family, only, was it 1925 to 29? They weren't there long.
No.
So this is number 3. Number 3 of the Row, which was the old post office. Home to the Driscoll family. Anne Moores, who was the postmistress, who was a widow. Daughter Mary, who was 30, who was a teacher's assistant. So there's a school at the top which has remained intact, and that's preserved, and it is a Grade 2 listed building. A lot of these have been left to ruin. But yeah, the old post office. Quite big, actually. Yeah, fascinating. Number 2 of the Row.
This is number 2, the Labourer's Cottage. This whole village relied really heavily on farming and also fishing. Obviously we're not far from the sea, so yeah, that's what their main source of income and work was. Yeah. So you had labourers, did they?
Ah, the schoolhouse. Number 1 of this row was the schoolhouse. I thought that was the schoolhouse, but maybe not. Home of teachers, so that'll be why it was the schoolhouse. It wasn't actually the school itself, but it housed the teachers Annie Fry, Laura Woodman, Malvina Pritchard and Leonora Hearn. Nice amount of space. They had more room than the others.
So there we have it. This row of 4 terraces consisted of the schoolhouse, the post office, the labourer's cottage and the shepherd's cottage.
Not necessarily in that
Not
order,
in
but
that
yes.
order.
Yeah. Very well remembered. That's a really interesting old telephone box.
It is.
I'm going to position myself this way because there's actually a sign there.
So you can read the sign. So
Yeah.
you tell us all about this telegraph.
It was constructed in the winter of 1929. It is the K1, so it's the kiosk number 1, Mark 236. And it was Britain's first standard telephone kiosk.
So then before this, they used to send telegrams?
Yes, but you could send telegrams through this telephone box.
La, 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 la.
I'm just absorbing all the information. It was installed obviously in 1929, abandoned in 1968. Obviously the village itself was vacated in 1943. In 1983 the kiosk was restored, and then sadly 2 years later it was completely destroyed again, probably in some storms. As we see it today, it's in very good condition. What's it saying there?
It says, I am on war work. If you must use me, be brief.
Yes.
And then it tells you how you use the old phone.
Rotary dial thing, yeah.
Rotary dial.
Yeah, it's all original in there. This is the school, not the schoolhouse, because that's where the teachers lived.
But the actual school.
The actual school. The families relied very much on this school to teach them the 3 R's, reading, writing and arithmetic.
Teach children from the age of 5 to 14.
Yeah.
So we'll
I guess once they were 14, they were then strong enough to work on the farm and be a labourer. So that's the life of a Dorset family.
Have a look inside.
it's been abandoned for...
It's just as if the children have just sort of walked out, just stepped outside for a bit. So you've got still all of the old books, the old desks. Told that they had to evacuate. When they all left, they pinned a note to the church door that read, "Please treat the church and houses with care. We have given up our homes, where many of us have lived for generations, to help win the war to keep men free. We will return one day and thank you for treating the village kindly." Evacuated 106 properties in this area, so in a six square miles.
So it wasn't just Tyneham?
No, and they had 1 month to leave, and because the properties belonged to the squire, they were only given the compensation for the produce in their garden.
Oh dear. This timeline indicates that the area around Tyneham dates back to about 3000 BC, so before Stonehenge was built.
So you used to be able to walk around to all of these.
You did, yes.
Abandoned houses. But obviously as they've come more and more into disrepair, they've become too dangerous.
Yes. They are at risk of falling in.
So they've put up all of these fences.
The area all around Tyneham is very much kind of active military training ground. So quite often they'll do live firing and training. There'll be tanks rolling through, and obviously some parts of the Lulworth Rangers walks are closed off for safety reasons, because you don't want to get shot at. If you're planning a trip here, then check in advance to see if the walks and the land is open to the public. These signs are useful, learning things. So these are Laundry Cottages, and they were owned by the Tyneham estate. It was the only dwelling to have running water. Everywhere else had to get the water from the pump by the church, which we'll go and have a look at in a bit. And here we have
the drinking fountain.
So all the villagers, apart from the ones in the Laundry Cottages, would have to come here to get their water.
And I think this is the other thing that is Grade 2 listed.
Oh
so
yes, that makes sense.
The school, the church and the fountain.
Yep. Well, that was our little guide to Tyneham.
A slightly more sombre video for us.
Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then please subscribe.
Hit the like button.
And we'll see you in a video coming really soon.
So this stretch here was called the Row, and this was number 1 of the row of 4 houses, which was the Shepherd's Hut Cottage.
That's number 1, it was number 4.
It was number 4? What? Oh, oops.
back out again.
Well, why are we starting at number 4?
Because it was, number 1 was probably closest to the village centre. Take 2, action. It's number 3 of the old. A lot of these have been left to ruin, but there are three buildings still in Tyneham: the village school, the village church, and somewhere else here, I think. It's not intact, but
Yeah,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's sort of intact.
This tree was planted in 1911 to commemorate the coronation
of King George V.
King George V.
There you go.
That's a really old tree.
Yeah. Must have been a beautiful place to live. Anyway, onwards.
So this, followed down hole, would be where the bull would live. It's the bull house.
Tyneham and timeline. Do you want me to tell you about the rectory cottages? Do you want me to tell you about the rectory cottages?
Do you want to tell us about the rectory cottage? People were short in those days.
It's all right for you because you can lie
Long ways.
like that. I can't. So
No. So we have done a couple camping trips in here.
not quite.
Massive hole in your sock.
Okay. Yeah, what do you think that is? Is it bread oven?
I think it's probably a bread oven.
Yeah.
It could be a pizza oven.
It could be a forno.
A forno.
Forno.
But I think it was more likely a bread oven.
Oh, we've lost Claire. Kissing gate.
It is.